was reading my prayer letter and just trying to check, make sure for typos that it was correct. And a woman walked up to me while I'm standing there reading my own prayer letter with my own face on it. And she goes, brothers, she said, sir, how are you doing tonight? I said, I'm doing wonderful. How are you tonight? She said, I'm doing good. She said, are you visiting our church tonight? I said, yes, ma'am. We're in visiting from out of town tonight. Yes, ma'am. And she goes, well, good. Well, sir, what is your name? And I said, my name's Spencer Smith. And she says, well, that's good. Well, do you live locally in the area? I said, no, ma'am, I don't live locally in the, and I'm standing, I can do this and touch my prayer letter. I'm a missionary that they support. And I can touch my prayer letter, my prayer card right there. And this is a woman who, she's not a visitor. This is one of the most core people of the church. And she said, well, where do you live? And I told her where I live. She goes, oh, well, what are you doing up here? And I said, I'm a missionary. She said, where are you a missionary to? And I said, and she goes, who's that? And I said, that is me. And she goes, oh, well, thank you for coming, and walked off in disgust. Can I tell you tonight that woman, as nice as a Christian she was, she did not pray for me. She didn't even know who I was. And can I tell you that we need to be folks that are dedicated prayer warriors to the cause of Christ and praying specifically by name for our missionaries. Can I tell you that most missionaries' ministry will rise or fall based on your prayers for them? I love to study the Bible, but another thing I love to study is I love to study Christian history. There's a man that I've been reading about named Charles Finney. How many ever heard of Mr. Charles Finney? Would you raise your hand? They said Mr. Charles Finney was an evangelist, and he preached in the 1830s, I believe. He had a vibrant, powerful ministry for many years. He'd go and preach in a town, he'd preach, and man, thousands of people would get saved. But everybody knows who Charles Finney is. But almost nobody knows who Daniel Nash is. Haven't you ever heard of Daniel Nash before? Just anybody here? Nobody. Okay, there's one hand right there. Daniel, you know who Daniel Nash is, okay? All right, does anybody else know who Daniel Nash is, okay? Let's do a poll. Charles Finney, you know who Charles Finney is. Raise your hand, you know who Charles Finney is. Okay? All right, that's almost 100%. Daniel Nash, 1, 2, right there, okay? Very good. I didn't see you there. How you doing? Good. I'm glad to see you tonight. Amen. And we go way back. Amen. So Daniel Nash was the reason that there was a Charles Finney. Daniel Nash was a Presbyterian preacher who pastored a little church in New York and actually got an eye infection and actually couldn't see for a long time. And this church voted him out of the pastorate, just threw him out on the street. Said, we don't want you to be our pastor no more. If you can't see, we can't use you. We don't want you. Don't even care. So he recovered his health, recovered his eyesight, and he met a young evangelist named Charles Finney. And he felt led of God to join the ministry effort of Charles Finney. Well, basically what would happen is that Charles Finney would announce, I'm going to go to this town, I'm going to go preach in this town, have an evangelistic meeting in this town on such and such a date. Daniel Nash would go to that town a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks before, and he would rent a hotel room or rent a room in a cottage somewhere, and all day, every day, up until that time, it could have been a month, it could have been 2 weeks, up in that time, he spent all day, every day on his face begging God. He wouldn't take food for 2 weeks. He would pray, and he would fast, and he would pray, and he would fast, and he would pray, and he would fast for weeks. And then Finney'd come to town and get up and preach, Jesus says if you don't get saved, you're going to die and go to hell. And thousands would come forward. And everybody, especially in our crowd, everybody looks to the preacher and say, what a great preacher he was. But the truth is, Daniel Nash died. And within 4 months of Daniel Nash dying, Charles Finney took a church and got out of evangelism because the power was gone. I tell you, at the judgment bar of God, Charles Finney ain't going to be nearly as big a deal as Daniel Nash was. And can I tell you, we've got this rock star celebrity mentality in churches today where you know, these big, flashy, big name preachers and the big smile preachers and the big face preachers with the big faces on the big newsletters and the big periodicals and the smiley, I mean, they strut like turkeys across the platform everywhere they go. And everybody thinks they're a big deal. And whoa, he's a big guy. He's signing Bibles everywhere he goes. He wouldn't be nothing had it not been for the prayers of God's people. I'm telling you, we need less Charles Finneys and we need more Daniel Nashes is what we need.